Welcome back to New Day Cleveland, our very special trip to Loudonville. This is the engineering section of our show today as we look at the big gear turn there. Mark, we're at the grist mill, right?
Correct.
This is your grist mill.
It's technically not my grist mill. Technically, it belongs to the state of Ohio. It's part of the Ohio State Park System. But our organization, which is a nonprofit group, actually runs the grist mill and actually takes care of it. We started restoration of it in the late 80s.
So let's just cut to the chase. You saved it.
Pretty much. I didn't save it. I was the coach that gathered the team to save it. So.
Okay, now everyone talks about grist mill. People don't know a grist mill from what nowadays?
Correct.
What was a grist mill? Why was it so important to a community?
Well, it was very important in the 1800s because before electricity, they didn't have a way to grind their grain into flour or cornmeal. So they had to develop water power in order to turn machinery like we have in modern factories today, and that's what allowed them to do their grinding. So there was a lot more grist mills in the early 1800s. In this county alone, there were 62 grist mills.
In one county?
In one county. So they had to be fairly close to the farmers because everything was taken by horse-drawn wagon.
Mm-hmm. And it has to be close to the water. I mean,
Correct.
You can't turn it without the water power,
Correct.
right? So this is what the Mohican River was, the power here?
This is actually the Pine Run Stream, and this grist mill was actually moved here in the 1960s because on Route 60 north of Loudonville, where it used to sit, it was spring-fed, and the highway widening ended up having to get it moved. So a gentleman named Mr. Pennell tore this down, moved it here in the 1960s, reassembled it, and got it operational. Then, unfortunately, they passed away, and it sat in disrepair until the late 90s when we discovered the place and took on the project of restoring it.
It's fascinating, too, because this is a thing that it operates on 2 or 3 levels. I mean,
Correct.
3 counting the bottom with the water. But all this stuff, like the grain starts at the top,
Correct,
and comes down to the bottom and works its way through.
does.
And then you have big millstones turning.
Yep, and those are upstairs if you want to see them.
Let's check it out. You know, it's really remarkable because you drive through all this farm country, you see all these fields of grain. They would grow in the grain, but they had to turn it into something you could use, which would be flour, I guess.
Correct.
And so different kinds of flour. So what are these? We talked to millstones before, but what's dresser bolters?
Dressers and bolters are actually big sifters because once you ground it, you had to sift the flour in order to get the stone out that came off of the millstones, the dirt and rocks and things like that. And so they would actually sift it, and then each one of these had a different density of cloth or count of cloth in it. And what that did is that allowed,
like a strainer.
Yep. You had one for bread flour, you had one for cake flour, things like that.
And so when the grain comes down from upstairs, then it goes in between the millstones.
Goes into these millstones here.
So these are like the things you see people put their address on in front of their houses nowadays.
Like that there.
Millstones,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So a millstone was probably a valuable item back then, huh?
These millstones that we have are extremely rare. They actually came from outside Paris, France, and they are French burr millstones. They were brought over here as ballast in ships in the late 1700s, early 1800s.
Excellent. Okay, it's called the Wolf Creek Pine Run Grist Mill.
Correct.
People want to come down here and visit, and I recommend you do it because you come through here and you learn so much. I mean, the engineering, we talk about techno and all that kind of stuff. This is the stuff that got it all going.
Yep.
What's it cost to visit?
Costs $1.
$1?
Yes.
If you come down, I'll lend you the money. It's worth it, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Let's say hello to Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.